Hi everyone, I'm Bolale Ojo. You are about to listen to an amazing episode of Messy Marriage with Teyo. I love this episode more than I can tell you. I'm absolutely blown away by Teyo's intentional relationship journeys that left her with low self-esteem, little hope, and regret. But I want to give you a note of warning. This podcast explores graphic and disturbing story about a really messy marriage and dysfunctional family, and it has left devastating effect on the individuals concerned. There are lessons you can learn from it. This incredibly sad story is not suitable for kids because it includes some strong languages and may not be suitable for anyone who may find it offensive. First of all, Teyo's story tells you the downside of intimacy before marriage. Her story is informative, useful, and somehow entertaining. If you have teenagers around you, now will be the time to get them close to you and let them listen to Teyo's story. The eye that will sustain a person's sight till old age shouldn't start oozing pores in early childhood. When we say run from all forms of intimacy, it's a way of protecting your heart from hurt. But if a dog is fated to die for whatever reason, and no matter how much you try to protect it, it will not attend to the sound of the hunter's whistle. Teyo is an educated lady with a degree in her field of study. She had a high-paying job and lived well. However, the decisions she made in life robbed her of a good life. She started engaging in adult businesses at a very young age when she should be playing sports and studying and enjoying life with her friends. Unfortunately, that was not the case. But she did well at school and excelled at her job. But her choices of men and bad decisions led her to a path of regret and chaos. She left her relationships over the dumbest things. She is in an abusive marriage right now and she doesn't know how to get out of it. The story will give you a deeper understanding of the dangers of intimacy before marriage. Everyone, let's welcome Teyo to the show. Can you take us back to where it all started?
My name is Teyo. It's my pleasure to be here today. I don't take pride in the story of my life, but my happiness would be that it helped someone to walk on the right path of life. Please listen to my story. It might help you or someone you know someday. Kenny is my boyfriend, but we live together as a couple. He has evolved into an angry and abusive man. He was so sweet when we met. Although we had a rough beginning, but it all faded away and life was good again. Earlier in our relationship, he felt betrayed. He thought I had deceived him into believing that he fathered my child. He was with me in the hospital when I gave birth to my little boy and cut the umbilical cord, and he also gave him his name because he loved me dearly even though he doubted my baby belonged to him. Kenny wanted DNA tests to prove the baby was his before he completely bonded with another man's baby and marries his mother. My baby was 3 months old then and there was fire on the mountain. I admitted I was intimate with a Mr. Felix, who I dated before him, but I prayed every day that Kenny was the biological father of my baby. It would be devastating for him if he found out the baby belonged to another man. Kenny believed I lied from the very beginning because he had promised me marriage the moment we started talking. He said he was done roaming the streets and wanted to settle down as a family man. He thought I was already pregnant with another man's child before we met and I wanted to pin the child on him. I also wanted to settle down and have a family with Kenny because I thought he was an intelligent man who wants something out of life and there was something in him that I think both of us can make something out of. Within a few days of our meeting, we started a relationship literally and became intimate almost immediately. I became pregnant before you could say, twinkle twinkle. Imagine meeting someone and 3 weeks later you're expecting a child. That was the reason he was mad. Well, I need to say this at this stage. Let me tell you a bit about my dating history. I had a child by a man who was older. His name was Owen. I dated him for about 2 years before I got pregnant. I knew I wouldn't marry him. I didn't marry him because he older and too quiet. I was quickly bored. Our intimacy life was not great either. No, he wasn't abusive. He never cheated on me. He had a good job and he worked hard. He never disrespected me, but the mere fact that he was older wasn't just right with me. It really made me dislike him. He wanted to marry me, but I kept pushing the subject of marriage aside. Owen lost his wife barely 2 years after he got married, and he waited for another 4 years before he started talking to women again. Well, I didn't leave him before I got pregnant. I left after I had my son. I had no desire for Owen anymore. The life of me. I was supposed to put my kid first after I had him, but I chose to put me first. You ask me why on earth I had a child with a man I knew I had no future with after dating for 2 years. I should have left, right? But no, my foolishness got the better part of my brain. I know before you crucify me that was extremely selfish of me. I chose to be a single mother. Oh foolish me. I wish I could go back in time. I would choose that older man again and again. Owen was such a good father. He was respectful, highly educated, and high earner. But I just couldn't handle the age gap for no reason in particular. My mother advised me against leaving me, but I did it anyway. I am also equally highly educated and had been a very high earner too. After I left, Owen found another woman and married her, and they are happy together. The funny thing is she is the same age with me. Knowing what I know now, the age difference was just 6 years and doesn't matter. My loss was a treasure. I haven't found a husband, just baby daddies. I left for the cravings and thrill of a younger man. My stupidity is already kicking my fat behind, and I just sit back and watch what I have made out of my life. He lives a nice life with his family in a luxurious environment, and I live a destitute in the ghetto. No punishment could be greater. And to know that I robbed my son of a good life. I am a college graduate and a degree holder. Yes, I am smart enough and literate enough to know all of the statistics regarding single parenthood and all the problems associated with it. I am an only child of a single mother, so I understood the pains of single parenthood, but I still chose to do it anyway. At the age of 25, I got into an entanglement with another man for 2 years. Stevens had 3 kids with his wife and he was in the process of a nasty divorce. When we started talking, he wanted us to be together immediately, but I wanted to take things slower. You see, we just hung out at first, just dating, but the relationship took a fast turn. I must say, we had a very fast love affair. We moved really fast and I looked past many things and just plunged into the sea of uncertainty. We were together for about 1 year before he finalized his divorce and moved in together. In retrospect, I shouldn't have been with him in the first place. Do you want to know why I chose somebody who hadn't even finalized his divorce? You see, that was another poor choice on my part. I picked a man who was emotionally unavailable and tied to another situation, but I thought we could make things work. Why on earth didn't I look for a man who was emotionally free, available and true? Why did I choose a man who was still married? To help him commit adultery? Well, we weren't having sex at that time. But hold on. Hold on, Teyo, you say. Are there degrees of adultery? In actual sense, even though we weren't intimate then, we weren't dating, we were. Dating is just giving a bad child a good name. You know, I was fortunate to have dated great guys, but like I said before, my foolishness overwhelmed my sense of reasoning. I was clueless. I had no self-awareness. I would say I made a lot of mistakes, but you would think I would learn from those mistakes and not repeat them and take things slower, but no, unfortunately, no. After the guy divorced his wife a year later, we got together and started talking about marriage. We looked for a home together, but I believed I needed to live with him before we got married. I wanted us to spend the time together and then decide if marriage was what we wanted to do. It seemed we were both right for each other and he was my best option and I was his. His mother was a problem. She was hell of a major problem. He was her only boy. Of course, she interfered in our relationship and he did absolutely nothing about it. It was just nasty. She wanted him to get back with his wife so bad and make things work with her for the children's sake. She made it seem like I was the reason the kids had to be moved around. She kept telling him marriage was not sleeping together, it was work, hard work, and he had to be committed to it to make it work. Stevens loved his 3 kids from his previous marriage. He would take them out on weekends and drop them off at house he once shared with his ex-wife. I could see he missed his children every day, and I felt he didn't pay much attention to mine. My son needed a father in his life too. Although his biological father was also there for him whenever he needed him, I couldn't help but feel jealous for my son. Soon our flame of passion died down, and my trial marriage ended before it even started. I saw how one day he spoke to his ex-wife lovingly and shed a tear on the phone while talking about their children. My instinct told me he still loved her. He was still good to me, but I didn't feel excited about the relationship anymore. Unfortunately, by this time, I was already pregnant with my second child. Being intimate before marriage is not the best test for a long-lasting monogamous marriage. Why did I be moving with the man prior to marriage? What was I hoping to learn? Well, the relationship didn't work out and we separated again. Honestly, I do believe I have a track record for bestowing friendship on the wrong men. I mean, they were good, but I just didn't see the beauty of our companionship. Intimacy is all there is to a relationship for me. If I get bored, I move. A year after I met a young charming dude, Abdul. He didn't mind that I moved into his house with my children. He was handsome and gentle. We were perfect together, or so it seemed at first. We were together for 3 years. He would not and could not communicate his worries and troubles to me, and it was the main reason we broke up. Whenever there was an issue, he would become silent suddenly, usually because he was embarrassed or nervous. Abdul would not talk about the problem and didn't know how to solve conflicts. Whenever I challenged his view of things, he accused me of looking down on him because he wasn't making as much money as I did. I couldn't handle being in financial struggles with him, and all the emotional issues, and my children from other relationships. I had a child by him, but I couldn't stay with him because as time went by there was no more intimacy between us and we were both dissatisfied. I became combative and disrespectful. So what did I do? I packed up and left, Abdul standing at the door and pleading with me to come back. My life was chaotic. I had a lot of baggage. I couldn't find a man that was willing to be a part of my lifestyle of what I already have going. Of course, I already have kids and stuff. I came to the conclusion that it is either I relax, accept any man that came my way, or I die alone. I understand now that any man who stays with me would just be settling for me. I have 3 kids out of wedlock. I was a single mother of 3 when I met Kenny. I already had 3 other children by other men and needed a man to take care of my kids. I was barely able to pay my rent, and so Kenny came along with a promise of marriage. It was a dream come true. I wasn't going to burst this one, and I meant it. Kenny was happy when I gave him the pregnant news because he was going to be a father again. However, almost immediately he doubted the paternity of my baby because we just met 3 weeks prior and here I was, already pregnant. Although, the first 2 times we were intimate we had mishaps with the balloons. I wasn't also not sure who the father is because I was also intimate with Mr. Felix during the window of conception. Mr. Felix was my boyfriend. I dated him for some time until my friend told me he was married and had a family of his own. I felt used and useless and thought my life was now a circus. I was intimate with him on the 23rd of July and finally ended the relationship with him on the 26th of the same month after I met Kenny. I became intimate with Kenny on the 2nd of August and my baby was born on the 18th of April, 8 months later. Well, Kenny had legitimate doubt and couldn't bring himself to accept he is the father. I had the baby just 8 months after we met and the conception date was just not adding up at all. He understood the balloons broke twice. He wanted to know if the baby was his. The boy could belong to either of them. Kenny already had 2 daughters with other women. He had always wanted a baby boy but not another man's. Kenny said emphatically he would walk away if DNA proved Felix was the biological father. I made sure Felix was always fully ballooned anytime we were intimate and there was never an accident, so I couldn't have been pregnant by him. I wasn't 100% sure though. In fact, I wasn't sure of anything and I was upfront with Kenny since I found out I was pregnant. I told him the baby might not be his. I also wanted to know the paternity of my baby because every time we got into any argument he brought up the paternity of the baby. DNA test was conducted on Kenny and the baby. The result eventually showed Kenny was the biological father and we were both excited. You see, I was oblivious to the fact that Kenny had had a few arrest records by the police a few years prior. He had domestic abuse and child endangerment. He also violated his parole when he didn't show up at the court. Unfortunately, like I did with my other baby daddies, I didn't take time to know him before jumping into bed with him. We are still together but not married. Our relationship is as messy as it can be emotionally, psychologically, and even physically. With 7 children between us from different baby mamas and baby daddies, things are likely to fall apart soon. I have displayed a lot of patience and restraint, clearly much more than I should have. The relationship I have with my baby daddy, because you see he is not my husband. The relationship is filled constant fights. He devalues me, manipulates and abuses me. We can't go 3 days without something being a major issue. He always plays the victim and finds way to make me feel bad for him. He rarely, if ever, takes accountability for his actions. It's hell being with him, but I can't find the courage to break up from him. I have massive scars you can't see. The verbal abuse and isolation started long before the physical abuse. I act dumb and keep my mouth shut even though I have a degree and he barely graduated high school. I am whittling away. My self-esteem is injured. After the DNA test he stopped pretending he loved me. I was in a state of shock and kept thinking there was something I could do to fix it. That's why I stayed. I am determined to tough it out. I made my bed, so now I must lie in it the way it is. This is a very good example of a dysfunctional family. Please hear me clearly and borrow some sense from me. If only I had followed a very simple instruction, my life would have turned out differently. When the Bible says thou shalt not commit fornication, it is actually another way of God protecting you from hurt, messy relationship like ours. We are fighting to save a chick from impending death, but it's unhappy it's not been allowed to claw its way through the dirt heap. Look up, there's an eagle flying above you. Will both of us eventually marry? I don't know. He hasn't even proposed to me yet and the boy we share together is already 3 years. We are practically living in fornication. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 12. Just because something is technically legal doesn't mean that it's spiritually appropriate. If I went around doing whatever I thought I could get by with, I'd be a slave to my whims. You say, I have the right to do anything but not everything is beneficial to you. I might find herself lonely someday. I don't think I'll ever get proposed to. I don't think I'll ever get married. Would I ever hear, in the name of God, I, Mr. So-and-so, take you, Teyo, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until parted by death. This is my solemn vow. Would I ever wear a wedding ring and hear a man say to me, I, Mr. So-and-so, I give you this ring as a symbol of my vow, and with all that I am and all that I have, I honor you, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. These vows still remain for me in the realm of probability. I've learnt a lot since the separation from my older ex-boyfriend, my first baby daddy. I feel like with the knowledge that I have now, I don't know if there's anyone out there that will want to be with me or accommodate my situation. I mean, you know who wants to take care of someone else's kids. I feel like there's no hope for me. First off, there is a decline in sexual marketplace value for me. I am now in my late 30s and past my prime. I have run out of chances. For kids from 4 different fathers, always send men running. I am stuck. I can't go back to my first baby daddy because there's already too much water under the bridge. Honestly, in hindsight, I don't know why I even felt he wasn't good enough for me. I was stupid. Sometimes I get angry with myself. I just slap myself in the face. So guys, if you are one of those who say, I can't date a guy without engaging in adult business. It's my body and I decide what happens to it. Think again, because the decisions you make with your body today might leave you with years of endless regret and loneliness. You see, we are all on a journey, but we have different destinations. There is a road that may seem right to you to get to that destination, but at the end of that road there may be sadness and death, or happiness and life. You have to willfully chart your own course. Relationship between a man and a woman is a journey. Friendship is a journey. Between parents and their children, it is a journey. Between siblings, it is a journey. Any type of relationship is a journey. There are wicked people on this course and there are many good people walking this walk. There are dogs, there are pigs, there are sheep and there are goats. There are all sorts of people. The good, the bad and the ugly. Before you embark on this journey, ensure you know who you are going with. Please, my friend, don't forget the word, going. It is a continuous tense. Going. We are always going somewhere. There are killers on the way, at home, outside and everywhere. Be careful who you choose to bestow friendship on. Be careful who you take advice from or modeled your life after. Be discerning. There's no part of coconut that is soft. Every part of it is hard, very hard. Its leaves are not tender. Its tree is not soft. Its skin is hard. The husk is hard. The shell where the edible part of coconut is harder than other parts. Even the copra, the meat of the coconut, is unbelievably hard. But, as hard as all of these parts are, if you break the coconut, the first thing that will come out is water. It's a mystery. We don't know how the water gets inside the coconut, yet everything is hard. Why is it that all the hard parts of the coconut cannot soak up the water and become tender? When you finally decide to eat the coconut, no matter how long you chew it for or move it around in your mouth, it will never ever be soft. You will either spew it out or swallow it. There's no part of coconut that is soft, pulpy, or mushy. The hair on your head cannot be so grown you kill a snake in it. It's lice you pick out of it. Life is not difficult. Marriage is not hard. It is sweet if contracted under the umbrella of God. You can't be wiser than the wisdom of God. You must follow the rules of relationship journey. There's no child on earth with experience that surpasses his parents. Because, my friend, you see, there's no amount of clothes that a child can have that will be more than the rags his parents have had to wear. Be careful who you journey with. Thank you.
Teyo, thank you for coming on the show. That was both sad and incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you heard Teyo's story. There are so many incredible things she missed in life. She has told us her story so we don't make the same mistakes. I hope you got a lot out of Teyo's as I did. You will agree with her that she found out the hardest way that God's commandments are not burdensome. They are not harsh. They are not difficult to carry out. You can find that in 1 John chapter 5 verse 3. I really hope you guys take away from this story that one way you can show God you love him is by restricting yourself to his rules and living by them. If Teyo's story doesn't inspire you to close your legs and refuse to throw your pearls before swine and to really take control of the emotions that are running riot within you and to realize that you can model yourself after those who have excelled in their marriages under God, then, my friend, you haven't learned much. You can learn more by talking to your parents and your grandparents and asking them about what they went through and the advice they have for you. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And until next time, my friends, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, Whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Take care. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of Messy Marriage. If this content is adding value to your life, please like, comment, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and until next time, follow God's rule. They are